This is my notebook. Why should you care about my notebook? Because I know that the divine works through words and everything that we do in a way that we cannot completely comprehend. So, everything is divinely intertwined to bring you to your highest self. You can choose to embrace your destiny, or you can just continue to observe the signs. Everything you write, even if you don't feel like it's genuine, is all important, because it's all telling you something about yourself. Even if you're doing it as a joke, it all tells you something about yourself, which in turn tells you about your reality, because your reality is just a projection of yourself. Because most of the time we don't really get past our projections in life, but that's not really necessarily a bad thing. I think it gives us it's what gives us our point of view. It's what gives us our perspective. So once you get, then you start to value your perspective. You can understand the nature of your perspective, and that is when you can let go of some of your projections, because your projections comes from wounds and biases that you pick up throughout life, which you could say when you were born you were just the purest form of your perspective. So cheeks, you turn off the air conditioning. Cheeks. Okay. Oh man, I don't know how to work that, so I hope it's okay. All right, so that being said, the title of this video is Self-Perception is a Tool. Self-perception is a tool. because it's a paradox, since the way that you look at yourself is how you see the world. Then if you control the way that you see yourself, then you control how you see the world. And when you control how you see the world, then people always have a goal, so whatever your goal is, to each their own. Okay, use logic as a tool. So I'm saying all this to say, that we're going to honor these words that I've written down as something that could give us clues as to what we can actually do to actually be. Yeah, okay, so use logic as a tool. So when you separate so when you separate the personalness from it, then you can look at it like something that can be revised and revisited. When you look at your words in that way, and you look in your actions in that way, and you can look at it without the separate from the pain that you garnered from it, separate from the joy that you garnered from it also. Because, you know, sometimes you get joy from things that don't serve your higher purpose. Use logic as a tool. So, and that way you can use logic as a tool. By, I think I just give an example of that. Did I? No, I did not. Maybe. No, I know when I will. I'll show you when I'll show you, because I'll show you. So, yeah, so I'm gonna look at the camera, not myself now. Now. Okay. Use logic as a tool. Align it with your truth. Use wisdom, intuition, and logic to find your truth. Your soul is truth. That's what it says. Use logic as a tool. Align it with your truth. Use wisdom, intuition, and logic to find your truth. Your soul is truth. And you know your soul, my dear. You've known it forever. You're like, what's my truth? I don't know my soul. What's that? It's actually just a pistachio. It's a pistachio. You want me to tell you? It's a pistachio sitting on a table in the middle of the forest. I saw it last. I didn't. I'm not gonna say that, but yeah. If you were asking me what your soul is and you want to know the truth of your soul, because you're like, Ladies, I don't know what the fuck that is. Well, guess what? I just told you. It's actually pistachio sitting on a table in the middle of the forest. I can't tell you what forest. Okay, because you already knew. Let's see. Okay, so let's focus. Use logic as a tool. Align it with your truth. Use wisdom, intuition, logic to find your truth. Your soul is truth. Your soul is truth. And you know, wisdom, intuition, wisdom. What's wisdom? Let's break it down. Let's break it down, you know. Wisdom is yeah, so there you go. There's the answer. So wisdom. Let me see. Wisdom. I'm trying to remember what I heard someone say what wisdom was before. Wisdom is applied knowledge. That's what they said. Wisdom is applied knowledge. Okay. So when you're looking around, you're observing things, and you know, you learn something from watching other people do things in life. You're like, I don't think I want to do that because I don't really like the outcome of what came out of what those actions that they did, and so you don't do those things. That's wisdom. But it is also when you learn from your own actions. Because a lot of people overlook that one. Like me. So, intuition. What's intuition? Intuition. I think it's something personal to everyone. Just like your soul. But I'm not really sure on that one yet. Intuition, what's intuition? I'm not really sure on that one. It's I think it's something that guides you. I think something that guides you. Okay, I'm gonna try and focus genuinely. Okay, what's intuition? Intuition is that feeling. It's that feeling. It's hard to say because, you know, it's hard for me to say because, you know, the way I see it, I see it as something that can be changed. I see it as something that can be that shifts with your goals and with your desires. I see it as something that also bring you towards your destiny. But the complicated thing about that is that we're always writing our destiny every day. So it's complicated. It's something you gotta fine tune, you know. Right, that's the one. So your intuition is gonna be all over the place, and you're like, intuition? You can't trust intuition. It's fucked. What the fuck are you talking about? Intuition's bullshit. It's just some feelings you get every now and then. Yeah. But if you choose something and follow it with commitment, then you start by following those small moments of intuition, and you commit to that one story or that one that you're on, and you see, I'm learning this as I'm saying it, so use wisdom, intuition. So yeah, so when you and the more you follow that intuition, the greater your intuition gets. So maybe it is a small thing like that chip is gonna fall on the floor, I don't know, whatever it is for you at the moment. You keep following that intuition and it gets stronger, and then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, how did I know that shit was gonna happen? Well, it's seen to the fucking future. I got chills going down my spine. I'm really bad at looking into the camera. Okay, now logic. What's logic? I think I actually have a book that has a definition of logic. So I have a book called History of Philosophy, and in it has a definition of logic, and I wrote it down. It says logic, reasoning, conducted or assessed according to strict principles of validity. I'm gonna reread that. Reasoning conducted or assessed according to strict principles of validity. Now that is beautiful. Logic is our fucking tool. You know what I'm saying? It's not the thing that fucking rules us. And that's where we get fucking stuck in fucking logic holes. And you're like, someone said something beautiful, you know. I was watching a video about how to forgive yourself, and in it he said that forgiveness is not logical. And so I took that and I applied it to self-love also, because it's not logical. It just is, as so many things are. But logical. Let's go in. Okay, the whole thing is about logic, and the whole thing is about self-perception, right? And how it's a tool. So let's go into that. Use logic as a tool. Align it with your truth. That is important because it's a tool. You know what I'm saying? Stop looking. You know what I'm gonna do? There, now I can't fucking see myself. Use logic as a tool. Align it with your truth. Use wisdom, intuition, and logic to find your truth. Your soul is truth. Okay. Logic. Reasoning conducted or assessed according to strict principles and validity. So when you're using your logic as a tool, it's important to see it as open, very open. Your logic is open and it's very tolerant. When you're viewing your logic, it's very tolerant, it's very open and right. Okay, not tolerant. Okay, it's very open. It's very open to exploring all sides, all perspectives. So So if it's able to be rebuilt on a moment's notice. It's not something that you're kept prisoner by. Like, let's say your logic and your reason is telling you, you know, like maybe you got bit by a turtle. You know, your logic is telling you, like, well, logically, you know. Okay, no, I'm not doing this one. Okay, okay. Use logic as a tool. Let me read something else from here. The experience is a better guide to this than deductive logic. The experience is a better guide to this than deductive logic. Logic is the general instrument of philosophy, as mathematics is in science. So, logic is the general instrument of philosophy, as mathematics is in science. Yeah, it's just beautifully said. It's like, but I'm trying to find a way to describe it in my own words. sometimes our logic gets trapped in our biases. So what we are viewing as logic is not, it's a system that was created in our mind in order to protect us. With each experience, we get a new download of what could protect us. We learn something, but then at a certain point, we have to learn that there's more to learn. And so you have to keep your logic as broad as possible and flexible, because your logic has to be adaptable. Say, for example, you could use your logic to, like what I like to do, been using, like, okay, sometimes we can use mind to suppress our emotions, and we'll think ourselves like, I'm feeling something, but I don't deserve to be feeling this, or am I really feeling it, or my cat's losing its shit. Okay. But we can use logic instead of using it to say, well, look at all the things you've done. So why could you ever think that you would get something better? And that was you being logical. Like, look at all the things you've done in the past. Most likely you're going to do this again. So, but you can use logic also to tell you to, instead of to entrap you, to free your mind. So you can use logic to say, instead of saying, well, I've done this and this in the past, you can also use logic to say, well, logically, I can control my actions. I can focus my thoughts in a different direction. And I know that it's possible, because not only because I know that I know within myself that it's possible, but because I've also seen others lead by example. You can use logic and reason to be realistic with yourself. You can use logic to say, well, if I change, if I make mistakes, I'm going to make mistakes along the way. That's logical. I'm going to be attempting to change, but I'm going to continue to make mistakes. That's logical, because you've seen, you've seen before, people on their journeys to attempt to change. You've seen them, they keep going, and then they make a mistake, and then they get choked up again, and they're like, and then they get sent down that spiral because they believe that this is indicative of the fact that they are incapable of change, which in fact, it just means that, well, logically, you're like, well, no, I had some feelings, and I wasn't being very mindful in that moment. Logically, if I approach things more mindfully, I can not do it again. But it requires commitment, so you can actually start believing that voice. Because otherwise, when the other voice comes in, who's going to be more believable? Okay, what's your truth? Your soul is truth. Now, we know, what do they call people? They call them seekers. We're always seeking truth, naturally. we're seeking truth, and once we find our version of truth, we hold on to it like it's the only thing keeping us up in the middle of a storm. And, you know, it's really kind of true. You know, it's where we find our sense of stability and security, is having our own personal truths, you know. But we have to use we're saying soul is truth, so we're not putting the truth, we're not putting our entire being onto some facts that we learned, or maybe not even facts, you know, some things that we just learned through experience from growing up that might not necessarily apply to every situation. Your soul is truth. That's when you can constantly, it gives you more room to grow in your mind space when you see it that way. And that's what it's all about. That's why the title is Self-Perception is a Tool, because we believe it's a trap, and there's a reason we believe it's a trap, you know. Like, we believe, I'm not saying that right, we believe who we are. We believe the story of what we've come to believe ourselves to be. But truth is, like, you can come across someone who does something, and why do they do that thing? You know, you're really admiring, like, you're stuck in awe of, like, admiring, like, they did this thing, like, wow, I've always dreamed of doing that thing. But the only difference between you doing that thing and them doing that thing is that they took a chance on us. You have no idea what they're thinking. First of all, they took a chance. They may be just as self-doubting as you, but they took a chance on themselves, right? Or it's because they have a different sense of identity. So to them, this is something natural to them, but something else that you do that they see as something unnatural to them, then they're going to be amazed when you do that thing, you know? But you just thought this is something that's just natural to me. And that's why you see that self-perception is a tool, and it's actually, all these things are tools for us to create our own reality. So it's not a call to be delusional or to deny yourself. It's a call to see yourself, see how you saw yourself, and recognize that you have the ability to completely recreate it. That is what it means to be human. Being human doesn't mean you're damned to suffer. Being human means you're born to create. So, you know, it's important we combine our mind and our heart space. Our mind space is where we can construct and, you know, bring things into reality in our heart. It's what makes any of it worthwhile. You know, you can't ignore your heart, because, like, you can create every day and then feel nothing. And it's like, why the fuck am I even doing all this shit, you know? You need to connect with your heart space, not only just because it feels good, you know, but because it's what gives life to your experience. It's what brings your experiences to life. It's what makes the moment special, you know. It's when you're observing and looking at things in detail, it's what makes you love the details. You know, your mind observes and watches and analyzes. Your heart is what loves everything. It's what makes you so engaged in breaking everything apart and seeing it as smallest details. What makes you want and enjoy it, and you can direct your heart, like not your heart but your emotions. You can direct your emotions, and you can direct your emotions because you don't have to just follow your heart. Follow your soul's journey, follow your heart. Like I said, when your intuition, that's why I want to go back to this very quick. There's something else that I wrote down. It was I wrote down the chart separating mind, body, and spirit. I titled it Thought Mapping. Mind is a construct of the relative world. It uses and challenges the logic presented to it. Reason. Okay, here's some descriptive words I put under mine. Reason, dragon, tamer, complex, modifiable computer, antenna, lightning rod. Will self-destruct if not in tune with body. Everything is so complex that even body has a consciousness. I'm moving on to body. Okay. Body. Everything is so complex that even body has a consciousness. Some descriptive stuff I put under it was carries emotion, satisfaction of the senses, trainable spacesuit, can be like a reactive okay, there's a word here that I wrote that I have no idea what it is. Can be seen as a reactive. Can be seen as a reactive, inquisitive spirit. Okay. Trainable spacesuit. Okay. Now we're gonna revisit some of the stuff because I don't, thoughts and ideas change, so I don't necessarily feel I'm aligned with all of the things that I'm reading right now anymore. And it also says for body, it says heart, compass. Okay. And then I have spirit. Spirit is the energy web that flows through us and because of us. Now that's interesting. It says fire, ever present, cool, bold, infinite light, gives breath to the lungs, humorous, needs boundaries with. You gotta have boundaries with spirit. Okay. Unconditional love. Okay. So, how does this tie into self-perception being a tool? Okay, I'll start with mind. Mind is a construct of the relative world. It uses and challenges the logic presented to it. So it uses logic to challenge logic. So obviously you can see why you always have to continue. You can't base your worth on logic, on your logics, because it's constantly changing. And you should want it to be challenged because it can grow, and that's just the fun part. Learning something new, expanding your mindset. And once you start, you really can't stop. It's addictive. Mind is a construct of the relative world. It uses and challenges the logic presented to it. So when you're a baby and you got baby logic, or when you're a kid and you got kid logic, and you're like, so and the logic they give you is like, oh, be good and be nice and don't lie. That's right. That's what your parents, right? They're like, oh my god, you gotta be good and you gotta be nice and you better not lie, and they taught you like that, like you're not a fucking human being, right? And they humanize you and they give you all this bullshit, right? Okay, I said dehumanize, if you did not hear me. It uses challenges. You know, I wonder if you can even fucking hear me, because I probably have the fucking I had the I had the microphone covered. I'm so sorry. Okay. So it uses and challenges the logic presents. So, okay, the logic map that they give you as a kid is be truth, be nice, be, you know. But then you watch them and they're like, you're not being truth, you're not being nice. Where's the truth? Where's nice? You're lying. So yeah. So then you adopt the logic of your parents, just so that things can make sense, you know, because otherwise this truth logic shit, so we abandon that, right? And we adopt the, you know, logic of, you know, people around us. Or we're a little booger and we challenge it and we were like, why? Well, why do you do that? Why'd you do that? You didn't do that right. You didn't do that thing like you said you were gonna do. So and so reason dragon. Okay. Okay, so the mind is the dragon tamer, the body is the dragon, and the spirit is the fire. So you use your mind. First, I wanted to use the word dragon when referring to the body because it gives the body the respect it deserves, you know. Like, I think it helps to envision yourself as a blood cell, you know, and you can start to really connect with everything. And the dragon tamer is the mind. So, and you know, and if you watch, when you watch anything with a dragon in it, and you always see how they have to approach the dragon with respect, and you gotta be calm and, you know, be confident, you know, show it that you could, like, a dragon's not just gonna let anyone on his back, right? You know, we're just blindly, and we were just born with this dragon just right on us, you know. And so we're just born with the dragon. It's pretty incredible when you think about it that way. It gives you more respect for your body, you know, for what it really is. I mean, you just see the people who take their body and push it to the limits. And you say limits, but when we think about the body only being limited by our mind, you know, it's truly incredible the things we could do. Okay, so dragon tamer or dragon. And the spirit is the fire. Now, we think about the spirit. Think about how there's a song, I think it's called by, it's Airplanes something. Okay. Milk Airplane or, okay, so in the song it says, Okay, yeah, so I think I'm completely wrong. Okay, so anyway, the words I'm looking for here that are important right now is just the fact that how incredible it is, how strange it is to be anything at all. How strange it is to be anything at all. How strange it is that there is anything at all. So when you think about the fact that when you're looking at a baby, right, and we take the fact that a baby is conscious for granted, like, because when you think about the fact that you're looking at a baby, you think about it's gonna start emerging its own thoughts and feelings towards those thoughts, and there's not just, and that's coming from not just learned experiences, not just things that they picked up from their environment, but also just feelings in themselves. You think about, you think about the girl who thinks, I don't want to be like other girls. All right. If people were just, where people were just gleaning off of their, the things that they had that's going on around them. We know that's not true because we know that there are certain people who grow up in certain environments. Okay, so what I just did just then was I'm going off on a tangent, but I brought up something and I skipped it, and so I'm moving on to what I'm about to say. You think about how kids that grew up pretty much in identical environments turn out to be different people, and we can think of that influence being their spirit. And we have to keep in mind the fact that how strange it is to be anything at all. We take it for granted the fact that people are conscious, have thoughts, have ideas that make them want to separate themselves from people around them, or make them want to become closer with the people around them. And we have the feeling that we have to be like one thing, but really, and we start to think that everyone's really the same. And that's only because we're thinking from our lens, we're thinking from our projections, our perspective, we're thinking. And so people start to believe that. They start to believe that everyone's the same. I was starting to think, I was like, are people really unique? When you think it's already hit, it's in everything. For some reason, we still are agreeing with the logic that people are just pretty much the same, and people who just don't make it in life, they're just fucking lazy pieces of shit. They're fucking lazy pieces of shit. No, oh damn, I lost it. So people doing people things, spirits. So we're thinking that we can see just the uniqueness in our fingerprint alone, right? It's all evident. They tell you there's no one fingerprint is alike, but still we find a way to buy into the belief that we're all the same, and the people that just can't figure it out, they're just pieces of shit, right? But I think there's something more to it. I think it has more to do with the fact that we aren't truly accepting our differences. People say you're unique, you're different, but they don't actually treat you different, because they talk to you, when they give you advice, they give you advice from the standpoint of as if they would give themselves advice, right? And then people will say, I never listen to my own advice, right? I give such great advice, I never listen to my own advice, right? So because we shouldn't be looking at it as we should honor each other, right? We should honor each other as people living on their own path. right? And honor ourselves as someone on our own path. And so when we go to talk to them and we're asking them for advice, we should be looking for them, say, hey, what would you do in this situation, right? And then they will answer, what they do in this situation, ideally, because, sometimes we like to exaggerate. And so we have to really think honestly, like really look within ourselves, like, and value what would I actually do in the situation, and see value in the fact, because you might hear that same story from like 1 million people, but those 1 million people might not all be in the same room. They might all think very the same and not all be in the same room. They might all tell you the same advice, but not all be in the same room, right? Because how strange it is that there's anything at all. Keep going back to that and think about the fact that, yes, there's a lot of people that think the same, but there's a lot of fingerprints that look the same. There's, it's not like that. It's like, it's a convergence, if I'm using that word right. And that's what spirit is. It's something we've been suppressing because we're thinking that our differences aren't really there. They are there. They are real, and they are to be honored. They're not. But the problem is people that do, they also inflate the differences. Like, they're subtle. They're very subtle. That's what makes it so special. That's what makes it, you got to seek it out, look for it. That's what makes those intimate moments, what they are. Because those differences are subtle. The difference between my hand and your hand, they're subtle, but there's still two hands, and that's how I feel like we can bring back love for each other. Like, when I was looking for that solution within myself, that's how it came to that conclusion, because I use my logic guided by what did I want to use my logic for? I want to use my logic. You have to set the tone. Like, when people use tarot, when people in tarot videos, they set the tone. They ask the question of like, they have to ask the question, so they have to know what their focus is for that session, right? And you can do the same thing with your logic. You can set the tone. With your self-perception, you can set the tone. Like, the tone for my logic is, how do I expand my capacity for love? So when I have that set as my that's every time I'm using logic, that's what the resolution for. Now if someone comes up and tells me they have a better way, and now then the importance of not having ties to that logic is, if someone comes up and tell me they have a better way for expanding the capacity to love, I also don't have to completely just abandon my form of logic and adopt it. I can hold space for both of them, analyze both sides. That's the beauty of things. Yeah, so back to what I was saying about spirit. So I'm gonna go back to when I said the girl that says, I don't want to be like other girls, or I don't feel like other girls. We should take that, because think about where all the wounds from your childhood come from. It's from being invalidated, right? So whenever you said something like, ow, that hurts, and someone says, it didn't hurt that bad, I don't know. Okay, I do know. So okay, if she says, I don't feel like other girls, I don't feel like other people, I don't feel like human, I don't feel human, and then you're thinking, oh, I've heard that before. Okay, you've heard that before. Someone else said that. Okay, but take appreciation to the fact that there's someone before you saying that. Okay, this is a whole different entity. Yeah. So, we have to take, because when they're saying that, they're truly feeling that. You know what I'm saying? When you're looking at them, you're like, you're naive, right? But you have to think about the fact that you are denying that in yourself sometimes, but also I can't say you may be someone who has always felt more connected to people. So when someone else says, they feel different from people, you can't really see that, right? You can't really, but you have to, that's why we have to really try and get to know them and try to get to know their feelings behind it, their logic behind it, this, that, the third, what's led them to these feelings, this, that, the third, see if it's judge it case by case. Like, it could be a person who is just hasn't found their soul family, or it could be a case of someone who has something to express that they don't know how to express it. It could be a number of things, and so you have to use, you have to really appreciate the fact that regardless of whether you feel it's coming from a place of naivety, that those feelings are actually being felt. So if say someone's getting angry in traffic, say someone's getting angry in traffic and they're telling you about how angry they get, and maybe you're not a person who gets angry, and you say, well, they're so foolish and naive, and so you come out and you kind of minimize. You can't really come to a place from really listening to them, because yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I have to really appreciate listening to because those feelings are real, their experience is real, it's happening. They're getting angry in traffic, regardless of whether you've thought past that point or something. So yeah, so we have to really appreciate the fact that every time someone speaks, they're speaking from their spirit, they're speaking from their feelings, they're speaking from their truth. Even when they're lying, they're telling the truth, because they're telling you that they're a liar, it's yeah. So yeah, you gotta really listen to people and realize, think about all the weight that you okay, this is coming from someone who feels choked up speaking. There's some people that just let words out easily, but think about, for me, from my perspective, there's a lot of weight behind each word that I'm saying. So those emotions are very real and very present in that person's mind, and that's their spirit, guiding them, doing all kinds of things, moving in them in ways we can't really understand right now. It's the spirit they were born with. It's the parts of their spirit that was being suppressed. All of it is being expressed, and that's the spirit. It's well, okay, what all this has to do with self-perception is the fact that you have to recognize mind as a tool, spirit as a being, and your body as a vessel. So when you can do that, you can when you do that, you can do things, basically. That's it. You can do things. You can do the things you really want to do. You can find out what you want to do. You can be, you can live, you can exist, and just exist. You know, it doesn't have to be complicated. It becomes less complicated. And that's how it's been for me. You know, I'm just sharing things that I'm learning. I'm sharing things that I'm picking up on my journey and things like that. And I might not feel the same way about this, you know, tomorrow. But feel or think the same way about this tomorrow, or even 2 seconds from now. But that is the beautiful, expansive thing about the thought map I've decided to make for myself. And how I perceive myself is a mind, body, and spirit. I don't have to see myself as any certain characteristics unless I want to. I want to see myself as kind, then I'll be kind, you know. You know, people who see themselves as kind aren't always kind. So it's not really about whether you see yourself as kind, it's whether you are kind. It's whether you do acts of kindness, acknowledge the things that you do that are kind, you know, so you can fill your heart, nourish your heart. If you want to see yourself as a loon and be a Looney Tune, you can do that. You can embark on the Looney Tune path and become a loon. And we can all become loons today. So, because we have to acknowledge the power of self-perception, first of all, in order to use it, because we have to realize, you know, and it's hard for people to realize that, because then they realize how they've affected other people's lives. Like, every time you're speaking to someone and you tell them you're a lazy piece of shit, you know, you're telling them they're a lazy piece of shit, and they are believing, even if they don't really. There are certain people who, you know, they have good self-concept, and you tell them they're a lazy piece of shit, they're like, oh yeah, I am a lazy piece of shit sometimes. Or maybe they'll say that, and I don't know if that's really good or not, but but you know, so, you know, but you tell someone who really doesn't have very strong self-concepts, or maybe they they're really someone who they're looking to people to remain realistic about themselves. So when you're telling them they're a lazy piece of shit, they're looking to you for guidance. They're looking to you to, like, they're not okay. They're not. Let's not say that they don't have any, like, sense of self. That's not a good mindset to have. Like, they have a sense of self, you know, but they're just the kind of person that wants to stay realistic, right? Let's try to, like, see how they think, how their logic is going, right? They're trying to be realistic, and so by looking to people around them and hearing their view on them, that's how they feel that they're staying realistic and staying grounded in reality, right? But in reality, they're not lazy piece of shit. Maybe they were 2 seconds ago, but they're not. They are. They just are. They just be, you know. Maybe they've been acting as a lazy piece of shit, and you know. But anyways, when you tell them they're a lazy piece of shit, it keeps reinforcing that. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything actually helpful, because all they're doing is creating a self-perception that they're a lazy piece of shit. And so now whenever they're trying to not be a lazy piece of shit, right? Excuse me. So whenever they're trying to not be a lazy piece of shit, hold on. So whenever they're trying to not be lazy piece of shit, they're thinking in the context of, I'm a lazy piece of shit who's attempting to not be a lazy piece of shit. But the truth is, you will end up falling back to your old habits because you believe that you're being something different to what you are. You have to use your perception to tell you, I am a productive person. I get the things done that I need to get done. I get them done. You need to tell yourself that in order to get things done and to be consistent, to commit to it. Say, it may be helpful to say, I've been a lazy piece of shit in the past, but that's not who I am. And I also want to say something about projection. Something that I realized, I don't have to have such a negative view of projection either, because I feel like, damn, I'm trapped in a world of projections. I don't see anyone for who they really are. But every time you have a projection, you can see it from the perspective of this is I'm projecting something. This is something that is bringing me closer to myself. Is actually bringing me closer to myself, because now I can clearly see myself. I'm constantly searching for someone. Like sometimes we feel like we're nothing, but we through those projections, we can learn who we are. We can see ourselves. We can begin to love ourselves, because when we learn those projections come from the context of something that we rejected and suppressed within ourselves. Like say you're projecting onto someone, they are say you're projecting onto someone that they are a